Hey all, I'm Caden Rains and welcome to my basement. Today we're looking at the 2017 Assembly Square, the 10th anniversary modular and the largest up to that point. It's also the last of the modular sets to use the classic faces for the minifigs. After this we'd have the diner, and that would use updated faces as all modulars since then have used. So we're gonna put it together, take a look at all of its bits and pieces, and then slide it somewhere into the city. So let's get going on that. So here are the 8 minifigs that come with the set. We have the mom and her baby up front, along with the chef, or pastry chef in particular. That is, he goes with the bakery that's included on the base floor of one of the buildings. We then have a ballerina, a guy. Well, this is the music salesman. They put him in the music shop. A barista, a photographer who may or may not look like the guy from Mythbusters. I'll let you decide which one. A dentist, and then an old lady. There you go. Now you can see her. An old lady who's supposed to run the flower shop. Now, like I said before, this is the last set in the line that used these classic faces. And because of that, they look a lot different than the other figs that we put together. Well, maybe not a lot different, but different enough. So I think I'm going to make a slight change. And there we go. Some updated faces for this group of minifigs, with the exception of our Mythbuster in the back, who looks perfect just the way he is. All I did was grab some extra heads from various minifigs, like from the CMFs or from ones I'd gotten from Pick-a-Brick at Lego stores, just to give them a good look, something a little more appropriate to what they're doing. We've got a smiling dentist. We've got given our music shop owner a cool guy look. I just kind of felt like the beard went with the bakery. I like this smile for the barista because it's kind of forced, and if we turn her around, you can tell she's not having a great day, which, be nice to your food industry people. They deserve a little bit of respect. And then I just felt like, as a ballerina, a childish face. I know that not all ballerinas are little girls, but it's just what I had in mind and what I had available. So there we go. So yeah, so those are the minifigs, as I'm gonna keep them for now, and we might change them up later. If you're wondering about the old lady with the eye patch, I like to think it's so that she can give the bakery owner her one good eye. But anyway, now that we've taken a look at them, we're going to look at the one extra build of this set, which is this baby carriage. It's not like a real full vehicle, but the baby can go inside it. There's no stud inside, so it just sort of sits there, and then the mom can hold on to it. And whoa, man, it's amazing. I know they've built other baby carriages since this one came out, and maybe they're better. I don't know. I don't get a lot of sets with babies in them, but it's there. So if you want the mom to take a stroll around town with her kid, she can certainly do that without hindrance, I suppose. Now that we've looked at the minifigs and the one extra build, let's take a look at the exterior of the set and then go level by level about what's inside. So here's the exterior of the overall thing. We get a pretty good opening look from the front. This is where most people are going to look, as it's the most open part. It comes with 2 lamps because it's longer than the average set. And then you've got a pretty good fountain build here in the middle, which we'll see a little bit more of when we go in for the overhead in just a moment. There's also a dog. Look at him. He's just a little goober. But anyway, turning it around, the sides aren't anything too much to write home about, except this one doesn't want to lock in right now because it's spiting me. But this side, you can see the back of something and a couple hanging bits from that are going to be more noticeable on the inside. But as we go to the back, we can see the staircase that leads to the different levels of this building, which is shared between the beige and green. And then as we go back more, the breakup for the windows is all we've really got here. There's an open area that we'll look at more when we get to the third level. And then another little alleyway that leads to the flower shop, the door here, and then a tiny little passage that goes between the blue and green buildings. Like the other side, there's not much to the side view from this angle. It's just the side. It's going to be up against other buildings, so you're not really supposed to look at it. And then we're back to the front. So now that we've got that, let's take off the second and third level and take a good look at what the first has to offer. So taking a closer look at the first layer before we go inside, both of the buildings to the left and right, as well as the fountain in the center, have this pretty interesting dark blue, beige, and gray pattern. It's slightly different for all three, but it's the same pattern. You can see it at each doorstop and then around the fountain itself. And I think that's a nice touch to break up all the dark gray that would be the rest of the sidewalk, or that is the rest of the sidewalk. The fountain is also a pretty good build. It uses those translucent blue pieces to portray water flowing. The one thing I might have changed would be, instead of this translucent blue piece coming out of the silver, I would have made that piece silver as well, and then use some of these single stud round pieces in translucent blue that have the hole for rods. I think that would have portrayed the water a little better, and if I find those pieces over time, I might do that, but it's not something I'm going to go out of my way for. So, going from the outside to the inside, let's start with the coffee shop. It's got a pretty good sign there with coffee in the morning sun being represented. It's got some seating area on the outside, which is pretty nice, along with lighting coming out from under and around those awnings, which are just curved pieces and then lip pieces that are sometimes used for teeth on bigger builds. Inside, we've got our coffee shop, which also has some pie on service. We've got the counter as well as the coffee machine over here, as well as the stairs that lead to the next level and the door on the back that I guess employees can use. There's also some additional seating. We've got seating by the window as well as a little more by the counter. So that's you could argue that it's cramped, but there's room for a couple figs to not only buy, but enjoy their coffee. The barista, maybe obviously, is the one that's portrayed in this shop. So let's put her in there for now. The only thing I might complain about is that what is cramped is getting to the stairs. You have to go through the main counter area to get to the stairs. So if I was going to redesign this, that'd be a little change. And it'd probably be just something about repositioning how the front counter was. I don't know if I will do anything about that, but from a realism's sake, there is a door here, but like it seems like with this other door in the back, you're supposed to go through there. And maybe that's just the realist in me taking this too seriously, but alas, you've watched it and listened to it, and you can't unhear me say it. The middle building is a flower shop, as shown by those flower petals there, and the flowers on display out front. There is some more flowers. There are some more flowers on display inside, as well as a bird. Those flowers on the floor there are supposed to be in that little fence piece, which is a clever use of that. However, it's very easy to knock them out. I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to put them back in on camera, but it does look good when they're behaving. There's also a door you could see from outside pretty easily to get inside here. So this one doesn't have that same issue as the coffee shop does with going in and out, as well as the front door, obviously. There's also a pass-through to the third building. You can see it over here, which is probably part of the reason I was inspired to make the flower shop lady and the bakery owner, I guess, flirt. That's probably a strong word for it, for just a pun I wanted to do, but alas, again, you've heard it. Then, once again, this is a bakery or a pastry shop. I don't really know why they chose to put a pretzel there as its sign. I know it's something that's baked, but if we look inside, there's not much in the way of pretzels. There's cakes. In fact, there's a giant wedding cake in the window, you might have noticed before. But there's cakes. There's what might be a croissant, but it's white, so I think it's supposed to be glazed. And then there's more pastries in the front counter there, and a few more in the other window. I think that the bakery might be the best thought out as far as a shop. However, it is the only one that you absolutely have to walk through from the outside in, through the shopping area in order to get to the upstairs door, to the stairs going up. Like, there's no partition there. So I guess if you want to be on the apartment that's on the second floor, you better get there during business hours or else you're out of luck. Again, I know I'm thinking about it too much, but that's just how I am. And I kind of wish there was just a little bit of a partition there so that it wouldn't seem like such a unrealistic way of dealing with this living and working space. But now that we've taken a look at the first level, let's grab the second level and continue our journey through this set. And here's the second level. Let's start once again on the left side. The second level of the blue building is a music shop. There's not actually that much in it. There's 2 different guitars, acoustic and electric. A fairly good drum set as far as design goes. I've seen a couple different drums at this point, and this one's pretty stable. Doesn't seem like it's going to fall apart like some drum sets do. There's a saxophone, which maybe they'll sell that to the people at the jazz club if they need it. And then, yeah, there's just some window space. So I guess you'd have to put more stuff on the walls, really, but this is kind of disappointing as a space. It's just sort of there. Yeah, there's music stuff, but it's not a great use of the space, and that's a little disappointing. Again, I know I can only expect so much, but I want to expect more. Cool Music minifig guy wants you to expect more from his shop. He also wants to be he also wants to be on the studs. There we go. Hey, it's Cool Music shop guy. Anyway, so I wish there was more to that area. It's not terrible, and the drums are a good build, but it's not as good as it could be. Moving over to the green building in the center, the second level is a photography studio. So you've got an old camera, which is pretty neat in how it's connected. It's on ball joints at the bottom, and there's a bunch of clips that it doesn't clip into, but goes between. So I think that's a pretty interesting way to do it. Then there's this panel of a curtain, whatever you want to call the section that droops down behind most professional photos, you know, like the ones you get at school or got at school if you're past that point in your life. There's also a photo of someone over here. I don't know if that's supposed to be a reference to something, but it's there. And then there's just some knickknacks. This is a really small space, so I don't really expect there to be more than there is. I'm going to put the photographer in here because that's where he goes. But I do think it's good for what it's got. There's also, you might have noticed from the outside, there's blinds have been brought down to so that they get the lighting he needs. So I think that's just a clever use. The final build of the second level is a dentist office. So you've got a pretty impressive chair here. So you can put a minifig down in there. You've got a a build of utilities and a sink and a cabinet and drawers back there and a little syringe. The chair has the little light that you might remember from your time at the dentist. If you don't know about that from the dentist, you should probably see one. Your teeth might be in trouble. And I'm not going to try and get it out right now because with my luck I'd break the chair. But in the drawers there, one of the things they put in there is a billy club. So I guess if a patient's being particularly annoying, the dentist can knock them out and continue on in peace. There's also more stairs on the back out here, whereas the other two just had windows. So the stairs continue on the outside on the 3rd floor, and it wraps around, as you can see. So with that, we've seen the 2nd floor and all it has to show. Now let's take a look at what the 3rd has. So here's the 3rd floor. It's not very different from the 2nd floor on the outside. That being said, only the blue building felt repetitive over here. Maybe it was the way they were broken up because the green and brown parts of the building were alternated. But the blue one, you did the 2nd and 3rd floor right after each other, so you really felt the repetition. So that was a little disappointing, but as a whole, despite the continued aesthetic for each third of the building being consistent, I only felt the repetition boiling in on one, that being the blue side. Now, looking at the blue side, we've got a tiny little patio here, and, it's fine. They've done this on other sets. It's not really necessary, in my opinion, but whatever. And continuing the music theme to a degree, we've got a ballet studio up here. It's got one of the really cool mirror pieces that I wish they did more of, but I think they're too expensive. I haven't seen one in a while. Maybe they're all over the place. I'm just not buying the sets, but I haven't seen them. There's a pretty good piano build. We've seen a couple different pianos at this point. And then that bar that ballerinas use to steady themselves as they practice, as well as stairs to the roof, which we'll look at in just a moment. Also, we've got a pretty good look at the exterior using the 3 windows here. Again, they're not really any different from the 2nd floor, but because this is a dance studio, it's a little more noticeable. But, yeah, it's just fair. I expect the openness because it's a dance studio. I think that works better for this than it did for the music. But it's still, I guess if you're thinking it's 2 floors in a row that's pretty open with not much going on, that might be disappointing. But let's go ahead and pop the roof on, which just goes like that. And it's a pretty good look. It completes the overall appearance that we're looking for with this building, or the side of it. It's got this kind of trap door system for going inside and out, and then a skylight for the dance studio, which I think is a good touch, especially since you want good lighting when you're trying to analyze your dancing and all that. We're going to skip the green part for middle because it doesn't work the same way as the other two on the 3rd floor. But the 3rd floor of the brown side is an apartment. So she's got her own little Lego model in there, which I've got the baby going. And then she's got a new set in the works down by the door, which opens over here there we go. And then there's the Eiffel Tower in the corner there. And this is a pull-out sofa, which kind of works. I'm not really going to mess with it, but it does pull out, so I guess she sleeps on it. There's a tiny little kitchen, and then there's actually a bathroom right here. It's just a sink. I mean, not just a sink. It's just a toilet. I guess that can be a sink if you're desperate. I think it's a little better than some of the other toilet builds we've looked at, though, in the other modulars. It's not maybe my favorite toilet ever, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say, but it's all right. So that's the apartment. She has to go through the dentist office and the bakery to get to it. So maybe she gets free tooth care and sweets for having to deal with that. Who knows? But then over here, now that we've looked at her set, we've got this open air area, which is sort of like a grilling area for the building. Again, the green and the beige are connected, so you can expect whatever one building gets to kind of be shared with the other. So it's got a little seating area. It's got a grill, including a overhead to swoop the smoke away, which is interesting when it's outside. A couple different pans and cups, and then what I guess is a dead plant. I'm not really sure, but next to it is this ladder to the roof of the final building. Oh, I just realized that I got a bunch of leftover green pieces. Maybe I missed a step. There's a lot of leftover pieces in this set, and I was actually worried at one point, but it all came together. So it's probably just, some of those are probably for this plant. But alas, it's dead now. So let's just add the roof. And there's not really anything to this roof other than the fact that, so there's really not anything to this roof other than the fact that it completes the appearance of the building. I do like the angular spire it's got to complete what's been this rounded area on the front up through the rest of the building. And it's got a chicken. I mean, it's supposed to be a marble chicken, but, you know, it's got a chicken. So if you're a fan of chicken, it's got you covered. You want to live in this building because it's got that chicken. Overall, though, I think this is a pretty good looking set. It definitely lives up to its status as the 10th year anniversary set. More than I might have hoped for, especially compared to some of the other modulars we put together. Other than some little things, I actually kind of like this more than things like the Sanctum or the corner garage. The Sanctum still looks really good from the outside, but it's so small because of that alleyway they added that it feels cramped, whereas this one doesn't feel cramped. I just feel like there's not enough inside. The little alleyways they had on either side of the green back here are just for access, so they don't feel like they're wasting space because the people inside, well, the people going inside need their access. So I feel like this is a really good use of space. Now, the fact that both sides of the middle and the side of the building over here are connected means that if there's any thing not as put together as you'd hope, then you get this warping, I guess. I'm going to figure out what's causing that and then move forward. But now that we've looked at the whole set, and again, I do think it's a really good set. I did replace those faces, but I've done that with older sets before. We just haven't done any on the show. So, you know, if I do another set that's got them, I will do the same thing with some other faces that I find. But for now, I think it's time to slide this into the city and see how that looks. So let's do it. All right, so because this was a bigger set, I'm not going to do the normal thing I do where I slide it into the place on camera because I would break it. For now, I've put it here next to my personal Daily Bugle, the one I've made years ago. When I build the official set, I will compare them briefly before the new one goes, or newer one at this point goes in. But I've slid it in here. I'm rethinking how I wanted this city to be set up because I think these little middle roads would be neat to have. Not, well, roads, just breaks would be neat to have, but I don't think they're going to work space-wise for what I'm planning or what I'm increasingly wanting to do. So for now, the assembly square is going to go in the back here, but as I build some more stuff, some more taller stuff especially, I'm going to make it kind of be center in the middle of the table, still towards the back, but then open up the area in front of it is kind of the plan. I haven't scoped out what that really means for all the other sets yet, but I do know I want that one to kind of be center with the taller buildings like the Daily Bugle and my personal project that's in limbo at the moment over there to be on either side of it. But those are both pretty big sets, so they'll add to the skyline effect I'm hoping to create eventually. So anyway, do you have the assembly square set? Do you like it? Did you never get it and wish you did now? Or did you get it and wish that you hadn't? Personally, I'm really glad to have this one now. I wish I'd been able to build it sooner. And like I said, I like it more than things like the corner garage. And in certain aspects, I like it more than the sanctum. Mostly just because the sanctum's interior is really messed up by the way they did that alley in the back. But I still think all those sets are really good overall. Plus, it's good to have corner sets. So we'll see how that goes. We still got our bookstore over here, and I think that's just a really nice set overall. So I don't have any problems with that one. The only modular left that I haven't built besides the Daily Bugle is the diner. There's the diner, the hotel, boutique hotel, and the police station. I will probably hold off on the police station and the diner. Not. I will probably hold off on the police station and the boutique hotel for a little while, just because I'm not feeling those as much when I look at them compared to some of these other sets. But the diner is still on the table. But I think I'm going to do the Daily Bugle before I do the diner. And then I'm going to probably, but by the time I put that together, I will rearrange some of these sets over here. But anyway, let me know down below if you like the way the city's growing. I know it's a little cramped looking right now, and I'm going to try and play with that as I rearrange what I've already got. And then we'll go from there. But I hope you've enjoyed this time in my basement, and I'll see you next time.